walking along on a chilly fall day, walking the dogs. Fresh snow today. Been posting recently quite a bit on higher education sector, post-secondary. I'm based in Western Canada and posted some today on the international context. It's quite impressed to find that the European Union has got a full-on 3-year research project looking at higher education and problems with harassment and discrimination. Kudos to them taking that on. Posted some material such as out of the United States and Harvard University and some professors there. It was covered up for quite some time. Harassment, discrimination, bullying, power over. It's well over 15 years now of being connected in to higher education, and I've got to say I don't have a real super positive outlook for the future of higher education over the next little bit without some real significant structural changes. Some of those I've highlighted in other videos or posts. Send me a note if you haven't seen those. 90% of the senior administration and executive in Canada are white, close to that. A vast majority of those male, especially in the president's role. So much churn in those executive and senior admin roles between institutions, sort of pass the buck. And it's with respect. It's a complicated sector. Bicameral governance and senates and administrative structures and basically fully volunteer boards of directors other than the staff from the institution, debates about the conflict of interest that's there or perceived. But there is a real, in my experience at least, I've come from a pretty privileged identity, one of the most white and male, able-bodied, heterosexual, got the degrees. And so I've watched over the years and experienced stuff that's just unacceptable. I've left roles over some of it. One well-known, well-funded, national-level researcher in a certain discipline calling master's students stupid in public meetings. Others where academics are just cutting and nasty towards other academics in the same field, sometimes from marginalized identities and against others, the lateral violence as some call it, and then see them face to face and just be, pleased as pudding and pie and friendly. And that sort of normalized culture seems to permeate through higher education. I was in an institution at one point in time and was hired into a role and found out that 2 younger women than me that were inside the institution were told specifically not to apply. That just seems to be normalized. I got contacted after leaving one institution by some other folks that had also left the institution saying that institution is mired in a culture that is just toxic and unhealthy. Yeah, I agree. And that institution has lost lots of people. So there just seems to be a normalized acceptance of the messiness. And yes, good things happen and people get educations. But the amount of people that are dropping out of that sector or just putting their heads down and remaining silent is absolutely unacceptable. The levels of harassment and discrimination that are coming out in surveys, and I haven't even looked at administrative and unionized operational staff in terms of their experiences, that hasn't even been looked at that I'm aware of. And so there's a real reckoning, I think, coming from everything from an absolute snowballing of online education offered from institutions that don't necessarily offer credentials, not public. And people are just going to look at those and go after them rather than deal with institutions where students are not having great experiences. When you got surveys in post-secondary in Canada revealing that 70% or more of students are experiencing unwanted sexualized behaviors attached to the institution they're going to, then we've got some serious problems. But don't raise it. And that's based on my experience, and I don't know many of you that I'm connected to out there, if it's similar for you, that you just don't bring those sorts of things up. bring those up in a senior administrative meeting, and you just get those pained look on people's faces, and oh, well, that's not what's going on here, and we don't need to talk about that, and that's too complex, and all the excuses that come. And really, it just seems that we've got to be at a time where there's got to be more accountability, more responsibility, more ability to have a response, or response ability. And sure, keep going with the glossy plans and the glossy websites of all the smiling students and great things that are going on. But it's becoming more and more clear to more and more people just how much the underbelly has become too complex, too convoluted, too easy to absolve oneself of responsibility. Oh, that's not us, that's the Senate. Oh, that's not us, that's the admin. Oh, not me, that's the executive. And it's not only higher education, but for an institution that is supposed to be about educating young people to be critical thinkers and teaches programs such as gender studies and human resources and business and entrepreneurship and equity and human rights, to see the amount of times and places where the principles of those courses that are being taught are not being put into place in the same institution in the classrooms in which those are being taught. There just seems to be far too much of this going on. But I wonder, maybe I'm just too cynical, too long attached. What do you think? What's your experiences? Would you agree with this? Disagree with these? Send me a comment, or send me a message, even a direct message. Always interested to hear about others' experiences.